Hi guys, my name is Davar and I'm a registered dietitian and the founder of the Gut Brain Method, and I'm here at the Biohacking Conference in Austin with Rob Besner, the founder of the Therasage infrared saunas. It's such an honor to be here with you and to be able to interview you. I have a lot of questions for you.
Okay.
Most of them you probably have answered millions of times, but we're gonna start with very basic things unless you have anything that you'd like to begin with.
No, I guess just that, we're a very passionate company, and we were born from a personal situation with our daughter who contracted Lyme disease. I have a background in biology and in physiology. I started in health sciences and med school, and also physics and business. And basically we started thinking about ways to try to enhance her, or create devices that my daughter could help herself with her own healthcare. And so that was kind of the genesis of how we
When
got
was
it.
this?
About 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, it was kind of a journey, and then she had some great results. And so
I love the stories or the companies where the philosophy or the foundation is based out of their own struggles with health, and the product is the solution that works for them, right? So this creates an entire different approach and attitude towards the business, right?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have venture capital. We didn't have a business plan, like anything that would really be considered kind of an organized, concerted effort towards a business. This was really, and still is, very organic. My creations, I am the device developer and the co-founder. So basically everything that you see in catalog and 30 other inventions I've made that haven't made it out to the public yet are just expressions of various different perceptions, my research. We study ancient cultures, what worked with healthcare. We study how nature interacts with the plant and animal kingdom. And we try to incorporate many of those types of concepts into our creations.
And your company is based out of Florida, right?
Yes, we're in South Florida.
Great.
But we also have a part of our company is also in California. And we're now opening up an operation in the Midwest in Michigan.
Okay, well, let's get into infrared sauna.
Okay.
Tell us, for people who have no idea, how would you describe the top 3 to 5 benefits that everyone should know about and everyone can benefit from using the infrared sauna? Because it is becoming popular in the wellness industry, and a lot of people just have no understanding of, first of all, what are the actual benefits, and then how is it different from the most conventional, saunas and steam rooms?
Okay. Well, let's start with the difference between a hot rock sauna, steam room, it's like a Swedish type sauna, and an infrared sauna. Okay, so that might be really good for everyone to see. All right, so hot rock sauna and steam room is what's called convection heat. And there you have an element that heats the ambient air, that eventually touches your skin, and has to be at a very high elevated temperature in order for it to penetrate through the insulating fat under your skin that protects you from extreme temperatures, either extreme hot or extreme cold. And that keeps the integrity of your organs and your internal body and systems intact, right? So now infrared in convection type heat, it has to be really high. Have you ever gone to a sweat house or a sweat lodge or a sweat steam room or a hot rock sauna? Have you ever experienced that?
The last one, the hot rock sauna, yes.
Okay, was it easy for you to breathe?
I think the air was very sharp. It's almost irritating my nose.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you poured a little bit of water on the rocks, and then it got really hot, and then, okay. So sweating, you'll sweat in those environments because of the heat. But the heat has to fight really hard to get through that insulating layer for you to actually get the benefit internally. Now, radiant heat, which is what infrared is, radiant heat is an extraction or a wavelength from sun energy. It doesn't have to fight really hard. It's actually a natural event. And these wavelengths, they harmonize, or they actually vibrate at the same frequency as the water inside of your body. Well, 72% of that fat cell in that insulating layer is actually water. And so sun energy actually comes and hits that same barrier and vibrates and goes right through, seamlessly through that insulating barrier, and then comes into the body and starts resonating or vibrating. That liberates heat internally, and it centers in the densest parts or properties of our body. So what do you think are the densest properties of your body?
The bones?
Most people, that's the number one answer, but that's not a correct answer. It's actually the strongest, or the structurally the strongest, but its bone is very porous. So the densest parts are actually our muscle mass and our organs.
Okay.
So now we have infrared sunlight, these beautiful rays of energy that come into our bodies seamlessly because they're resonating at the same wavelength as the water in the fat that's an insulating layer to protect us. It comes right into the body, comes right into your organs and your muscles, and it starts to vibrate, liberating heat. Well, it turns out that those organs are also very vascular. All right, and the muscles are very vascular parts of your body. And when you warm up the tissue, you also warm up the vein and the artery. And when you warm up the vein and artery, they dilate. So as they expand, it allows more blood flow to come through. Blood carries nutrition.
I'm counting benefits already.
Here we go. So you're seeing where I'm going with this. It improving blood flow improves nutrition because your blood carries all of your digestion. The ultimate of your digestion is the nutrients that are in your blood. It carries your repair mechanisms like your DNA and RNA, your genetic material, and it carries oxygen. And so, number one benefit would be improved blood flow. So that's improving your metabolism, right? By generally around 10 to 15%. Which, if you're moving your metabolism by 10 to 15%, another side effect or benefit would be weight loss, because in a half hour or 45-minute treatment, you can probably burn around 750 calories. So that's not an excuse to go eat another candy bar. But if all you did was just did infrared sauna, put that into your routine, didn't change your lifestyle, didn't change your food intake, didn't change the amount of times you go to the gym or not to the gym at all, just by adding sauna 5 times a week, you'd probably lose around 3 pounds a month.
5 times a week for how long?
30 minutes.
Okay, 30 minutes a day, and you recommend this process of infrared sauna exposure at night or in the morning?
Well, actually, it's a great question. It actually brings me to another point, but there are other benefits, but we can answer that one. Actually, the best time to do it is following the orientation of the way nature intended us to be. And if you date back 10,000 years ago to our ancient ancestors, we didn't live in apartment buildings and single-family homes, right? They lived in caves on the land in tents. And so they woke up to the sunrise. And infrared is an extraction of sunlight. And so it wakes up many of your body's different mechanisms and systems. So the best time to do it, optimal time, would be the earliest part of the day.
The earliest part of the day.
Yes, just after you wake up. But we do have a lot of protocols that are set up to meet the more modern lifestyles. So, for instance, about 2 weeks ago, we had a truck driver that said, Robbie, look, I get up at 4 in the morning. There's no way I'm going to get up at 3 to do my sauna. Well, so I said, Joe, when can you do it? He said, well, I get home around 5, have dinner, and then I kind of sit down, have a beer around 7. So I said, well, how about if we set you up to do sauna in the evening? But the problem with doing sauna in the evening is benefit. It's probably the most natural detoxification chelator that you have that's available. And so in the process of detoxifying, you're pulling out these poisons. You're changing your body pH, another benefit, because most of us are acidic, and acidic internal environments is a opportunity for pathogens, cancer, things. Many of these chronic diseases actually aspire in acidic environments. And so shifting your body pH to being more alkaline is a really good thing long term. So we improve circulation. We can help with benefit with weight loss. We can improve, your body's ability to potentiate nutrition, because by improving circulation, and if circulation has all of your digestive food and elements of like supplements or medications, whatever, we're exposing more of that in your blood to all of your tissues so they can absorb it at a much higher rate. Plus these wavelengths, that vibration makes your tissues actually much more sponge-like or supple to actually gather these various different nutritional parts. So these are all kind of all related, but really good.
Let's summarize that. So the number one health benefit from using infrared sauna is the
I like detoxification because most people are focusing on that.
Because skin is the biggest organ that we have, and when I talk about detoxification, yes, there is the way to detoxify your lungs, detoxify your liver, detoxify your digestion, and a lot of people forget about detoxifying their skin, right?
Yes.
So the number one health benefit is skin detox and like overall detox, and then you said improved blood circulation,
yes,
and therefore improved metabolism and improved nutrients. Circulation and absorption, and then you mentioned even weight loss, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we got the health benefits down. Now, let's tie it back to your product.
Wait, there's so much more.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
the big thing on detox is that, let me see, toxicity and inflammation travel together. So when you lower toxicity, you lower inflammation. And most of us have expressions of any kind of symptom because of inflammation.
Yeah.
And so we're really shifting
acute,
chronic disease and people's general health and wellness just by addressing toxicity and inflammation piece. And so detoxifying is important, especially because we're living in a very toxic environment now.
Yeah.
The air, the water, the food that we're taking in is actually causing our internal terrains to be off balance. And these are just a few things. We can go on. We could spend hours. I don't think we have enough tape in the camera to actually.
I want to tie back, like we covered the benefits, right? The reasons why, and tie it back to the convenience of your products, right? Your products are portable. I really like that because, there's a nomad lifestyle that's in fashion right now, all right? That's when I looked at your product, I like that about them. And I like how light and affordable they are. Can you talk more about specifically Therasage?
Sure. Well, originally, our company's around 23 years old. So originally, back then, the first sauna that we developed was actually a wooden sauna. And we still make it. But when we make it, as a device developer, I don't really come to the table with ego. I have intention, I do my research, and I put all that together and I make my device. And then I start to learn, because once I distribute these devices to the public, I listen very intently as to the kind of feedback that we get that helps me really dial in the future iterations of either that device or inspires me for new devices. And so when I made the portable sauna, it was really answering the questions that I had from the clients that had the wooden ones or wanted wooden ones. So what I heard was, I'm really sick, Robbie, but I live in Manhattan. I live in a $2 million apartment that's 700 square feet, and I don't have the space for a big wooden sauna to fit into my lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I really need it.
Yeah.
So I said, space saving. Okay, let's check that one off. And then the other kind of voice I heard was from the families that live in, let's say, Minnesota, where they have basements and they have big houses, and they said, well, I have all the room, but I can't afford, a $4,000 or $5,000 wooden sauna, which the nicer ones can cost that much. I know that there are ones that are much less, but generally you have to be careful, by the way, if you're listening, because the woods are treated with chemicals when they come in from out of the country. And so you're buying a wooden sauna to detox, and you don't want to get one in that's off-gassing DDTs and chemicals that the government requires these woods be sprayed with, because then you're going to be making yourself sicker in the process of trying to get better.
Wow.
So what I heard was two things: space and money. And so I said, okay, let's make a device that is space-saving. So that's our portable.
Yeah, and affordable.
And affordable.
Yeah.
And that was really what was behind it. It weighs about 28 pounds. It folds up into a carrying bag that's like a massage table. It can go under a bed in a closet. Doesn't need any extra electricity. It's very unusual because every part in the device is plug and play, and so we have distribution in 17 countries around the world.
Oh, wow.
And let's say you lived in Bali and you had Lyme disease and you were depending on that sauna to feel good every single day, and it didn't work one day when you got up. Normally, it would take a week to get it from Bali or wherever you are, Australia, somewhere outside, a week for us to repair it, a week to get it back to you. So now you're depending on this every day, and you're at least 3 weeks out. So I thought, when in this design, each part is plug and play. On a 2-minute phone call, we could diagnose what part you need, overnight it to you, and basically 2 days later, you could unplug the old part, plug in the new one, and you're back flying the plane. So this is really unique because there's no other company that does that I know of in my little industry.
Wow. Yeah. So, okay, we covered the Therasage and the convenience of it. Now tell us how your company is maybe different from everyone else that's out in the market?
Oh, boy, each of these questions is a whole interview in itself. How are we different? Well, we're very philanthropically driven. We're a very socially conscious company. We try to put people over profit. I mean, that may not sound very American, but we had our own journey and experience with our daughter and her health journey with Lyme disease. We sometimes were harbored with $30,000 to $40,000 a month bills between doctor bills and medications and traveling to doctors, because now we have telemed and we have virtual doctors, but 25 years ago you had to go, and most of the doctors generally are not in your hometown. So we live in Florida and we had to fly to New York to her practitioner. And so it was expensive, and it was a lot of juggling. And when you're sick, it's really hard to do a lot of that stuff. So we kind of integrated all of that psychology into making our products. So we want to make them affordable. We want to make them easy to use. We want to make them easy to understand. So actually, it's very sophisticated technology, but one of our design rules is, let's make it so a 5th grader could figure out how to do it. Plug it in, hit a button, and fly the plane. And so we think about things in a much deeper way. I am the co-founder and device developer. I'm not a salesman for a sauna company that might be in a different part of the country or maybe even outside of our country. So we have the ability to make change. And oftentimes we upgrade our science and our devices, but we don't charge extra for it. Many times we're doing things that we feel is so advanced to where mainstream ability to understand that technology that we don't talk about it until it becomes more mainstream in a way. We are guided by FDA. That means all of our products are listed as Class 2 medical devices, which not that many other, I don't really know of any other companies that can actually say that, which means we have third-party testing, we have a lot of the credentials that you need in order for us to sell to the medical community, which has been, our first approach was to go to directly to the doctors, train them how to use our devices, then have them integrate it into their practices, and then that's the way we would touch the public. And our thought was simple, that for however reason you found your doctor, either from a friend or something you read about, and you trust him. And if I spent if I worked hard to have that doctor understand how using our technology can improve the efficacy of what he's doing, then you trust your doctor, he trusts us, we show him, he shows you, and ultimately we get to what we feel is the goal, which is having the public understand about this technology and how they can actually take more charge of their own healthcare.
Yeah. You mentioned autoimmune condition, the Lyme disease, right? And you mentioned how you healed your daughter with the infrared saunas. And can you talk about more specifically, like how infrared sauna can help with autoimmune conditions, and if there are any health conditions that the infrared sauna might not be, useful?
Okay, that's a good question. I have a slide when I teach. Generally, I talk about the contraindicators, what it's not good for. I actually struggle to find people that it won't be good for,
Is
frankly.
that so?
Yeah,
Wow.
and conditions.
Do you guys hear that?
Yeah,
There's no
I do struggle.
contraindications when it comes to
No, I didn't say no.
Almost.
Okay. I
go.
just say I struggle
Uh-huh.
to find them.
Uh-huh.
But there are like tangent types of conditions so that people should be aware. Like for instance, when we talked earlier about improving blood circulation, well, if you have high blood pressure, if you're hypertensive, and we're expanding your blood flow, now we're bringing pressure down naturally. So if and people that have high blood pressure, when you go to your practitioner, they generally put you on a blood pressure medication, and they say to you, you're going to be on this for the rest of your life. Well, I challenge anything that I have to be on for the rest of my life except my engagement with nature, okay, and my affection for my wife.
Aww.
So the point I'm trying to make about it is that it's very easy for the allopathic or the medical community to just give you protocols and tell you, oh, you got to be on this, and then dismiss you and get the next patient in. We try to look for the root cause and try to understand how our systems work. We're not reductionists. We don't want to just isolate. We think that if you have a problem here, there's some other part of your body that it affects also. And so maybe you can focus on that root cause, but also be cognizant of the other systems that are affected as well. And maybe the other systems drive us to the root cause. By just fixing those problems, it brings us to the root cause eventually. Just a curating process. So, I don't know, it's kind of been a journey in that regard. I'm not sure if I answered or if I'm correctly on point. Do you want to bring me back to your question?
Yeah, but is there any population group or health conditions that you...
Okay, so like hypertensive, for instance. If I was taking blood pressure medication, but because my practitioner told me, and I got in the sauna at the same time, there'd be two driving forces bringing your pressure down. That's not good for you.
Okay.
So I wouldn't take my blood pressure medication while I was doing sauna or about an hour or so before. I wouldn't take it. Now, we have found that people that are hypertensive, once they start using sauna and their circulation starts to become more regular, they actually can start weaning themselves off the high blood pressure medication because their bodies are doing it naturally.
Wow.
Now let's look at the reverse. What if you have low blood pressure and the sauna brings your pressure down? What do you do for that? It's not really a contraindicator, but if you can add a little sodium to your diet and drink more or hydrate more, then you can actually increase your blood density, and so your blood pressure won't decrease that much or at all by using sauna. So these aren't really direct contraindicators, they're kind of indirect contraindicators, but still important to know. We do say in our user guide, if you're pregnant, you can't use this product. God bless pregnant women. I have to say that because I don't think there's a product on the market that doesn't have that same disclaimer. And because we're guided by FDA, we have to say that.
Yeah.
It's not like we want to.
Extra cautious.
Yes. So truth be told, I wouldn't want someone that's pregnant to have a problem with their pregnancy because they use any of our devices. Truth be told, we don't recommend that you use, if you're pregnant, after your second trimester, then the last trimester, you should consider not using sauna or infrared until afterwards, and then you deliver your baby, hopefully healthy and everyone's happy, and then maybe a week or two after you can get back on the regimen. There are so many things it's helpful for. As I said earlier, I struggle to find the things that it's not good for.
Okay, well, let's imagine like everyone's convinced, right? And then we got the infrared sauna and we're very excited to use it 5 days a week. Is there such thing as too much of infrared sauna exposure?
Too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
Let me think about that. You can't overdose on infrared frequencies, but you can do too much. Okay, and the reason why I say that is, supposing you're a Lyme patient and or a person that's very fragile or expresses themselves with high levels of inflammation or toxicity, very symptomatic, okay? I can just know about them just by interviewing them and asking them a few questions. And if you were one of those people, or not you personally, but let's say someone that we were talking to was that way, and they got in the sauna, people with chronic diseases, they're just sick and tired of being sick and tired, right?
Yeah.
And so they get in the sauna, they start using it, they start feeling a little better, and then they think, well, if a little was good, then a lot must be really good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way with infrared sauna because the body actually tells you when you have too much. And it expresses itself in a sign, what we call them detoxification signs, or probably more politically correct, recovery reactions, right? And that could be something like lightheadedness, dizziness, nausea, headaches, histamine responses like itchy skin or blotchy skin. It could be lethargy, feeling tired, usually about an hour or so afterwards. So these are all symptoms. They're contraindicators in a sense because your body is basically showing you or signaling you that you've had a little too much. And what we try to do is have people tune in to what their bodies are telling them, and then basically just drink water, dilute the toxic load or the burden down, because we purposely chelated and pulled poisons out. Now they're in the bloodstream. The bloodstream circulates up to your brain. The brain gets a little disoriented on the high toxic level. And then if you reverse that by just diluting it with drinking some good, maybe 8 to 10 ounces of water, usually within 8 to 10 minutes, that feeling goes away. So can you do too much? Yeah. And mostly but you can't overdose on this. You can't, see, in nature, like if you're just out in the sun and you're getting infrared light, your body will absorb more than it needs. But in the process of homeostasis, or creating sort of a equal or a neutral or a stable internal and external environment, the body will just release the extra heat or infrared frequencies that it's holding onto. So that's the natural part about it. But like I said, I often spend a lot of time, particularly with chronic Lyme patients, telling them to slow down. Let's titrate in. Let's kind of go low and slow. Let's see how your body is responding. I often talk about being your swimming coach. And I say, if I was your swimming coach and you were, deathly scared of drowning, I wouldn't throw you into the deep end of the pool and then say, I'm going to go for a cup of coffee and see you back in an hour and expect you to be living, right? So I would start you off again. If you're very symptomatic, maybe I put your toe in the water. Feel the temperature, feel the depth, get the fear of drowning off your...
Do people get a chance to try it out before they buy it and commit?
Not really. These are personal healthcare devices. We have 30 days, no question asked. We have the longest warranty of any sauna in the market. It's 2 years. Bumper to bumper. Like I mentioned, parts are plug and play. So we generally charge only our cost on the parts. And if we have to fix it, we hardly charge for labor. Our idea is to try to get these saunas in people's homes and people using them and feeling really good about it and telling all their friends and spreading the word that who we are.
What's the best, ultimate wellness protocol? For example, I bought this sauna for myself, right? And I use it in the morning right after waking up. So what's the protocol? I go in for 30 minutes and then after that what? I take a cold shower or
The first thing you do is you drink about 8 to 10 ounces of water. Generally within a half an hour to an hour before you take your sauna.
Do you recommend any electrolytes or any
if you're using it as much as 5 days a week, then you want to add electrolytes back in because you will sweat out salts
any
and
natural
trace minerals.
Electrolytes?
We're actually using one that is a beet extract. It's called No Beets. It's made by Dr. Nathan Bryan. Who's
I'm interviewing him later. He's amazing.
Ask him about it. Yeah, it's really great. And it's really a nitric oxide energy drink in a way, but it has many electrolytes in it. They don't really package or market it that way. But knowing him and knowing he's the formulator, I said to him, gee, I really need a good electrolyte. And he goes, I got one. And we started talking about it, so we're collaborating on that. So I would highly recommend everything that Nathan makes, which you'll learn more about, Dr. Bryan. So you take a binder is really important too, because a binder basically is like a biosponge. There's two classes. There's the macro sponge, which is like an activated charcoal or a bentonite clay. And then there is a zeolite derivative and a silica derivative called zeolite. And that's like the nano binder. So macro binder gets most of environmental toxins, the toxins that we take into our body through our air, water, and food. The nano binder gets all the biofilms and the mycotoxins, byproduct of mold, or neurotoxins, and that's the microbial toxins, biofilms, and heavy metals. So the key on the nanobinder is that it actually has an ionic charge to it, like a little magnet, that's stronger than the charge of your body. So the metal has a charge, the body has a charge. That's why it's hard to get metals out of the body, because they're attracted, and that's called a covalent bond. What infrared, when it comes into the body, that wavelength, that bioresonance, that vibration actually breaks that covalent bond.
Helps to detoxify from heavy metals.
Yeah, so the metal chelates into your bloodstream. If you're using the right binder, it'll bind up with the binder rather than going back.
So how do you recommend using those 3 that you just mentioned? Depends on the condition, or like, try.
What do you mean?
Like those 3 binders that you just described?
We start everybody with the macro binder to start with.
Charcoal?
Yeah,
or
the charcoal or the clay. There are food sources that are binders also, like cilantro, for instance, which I love. It's one of my favorite herbs.
I recommend that every time.
Actually, one year I actually put out a call to our network. I said, I need more cilantro in my life, And so we started talking all about that. Yeah. I don't know, every year I seem to focus on a different herb. But cilantro is good. The superfoods like spirulina or chlorella or blue-green algae. The challenge with the superfoods, you have to be careful with the waters that they're being farmed in. Because many of the waters are polluted. So you have to be careful on that level. But then you've got activated charcoal or and the ones I like are clay. And that would be grabbing the easily available toxins, the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. Then the ones that are a little harder to get out, so it's like peeling an onion. The first come off easy, and then as you get closer to the center, which would be your heavy metals or the what I call silt, which is more like the biofilms and the mycotoxins, stuff like that. That's where, and the heavy metals. That's where you need the zeolite, which is a silica derivative. So that's a really good one too. So depending on, again, how you're presenting as a patient to me, if you're a Lyme patient, I know the real culprit for the reason why you're symptomatic. Certainly it's Lyme or the co-infection, right? But it's ultimately because you're toxic. That's why you have a symptom. So if I can lower your toxicity, I can already give you your health back. It's not addressing the root cause. But that gives us a lot of time as practitioners to go after the root cause and do it gracefully. So a lot of Lyme literate doctors, they put their patients on antibiotics. They're already symptomatic, and they're making them more symptomatic because if their protocol works and they're on an antibiotic, let's say, it kills the Lyme, that becomes another toxin. They're already toxic, so they were feeling bad before, and now they feel worse. And many of those doctors say, well, don't worry, you know it's working when you feel worse. Well, you don't have to feel worse. If you just did a protocol, like remember I said earlier, sequencing and dosing? If that doctor sequenced a detox protocol before he did his Lyme protocol, he would lower the inflammation and the toxicity in the patient, and then when he did the protocol that created more toxicity, the patient could easily handle it.
Okay.
Make sense to you?
Yeah, but let's simplify it and go back to the ultimate wellness protocol with Therasage sauna. So before we get in, we drink.
We drink 8 to 10 ounces of water, and we take a macro binder.
Electrolytes and
macro binder. If you're very symptomatic and it's microbial based, I might even mix a nanobinder and a macro binder together at once. But most average people, 80%, that part of the bell curve, I would say you start with just the macro binder. And then that's usually for the first 4 weeks. And then we titrate off the macro binder and then add in the nano binder. And then ultimately you might just be on nano binder. That's what I am on most of the time now.
Really?
But or a combination, maybe 1-on-1 or something like that. That serves. That's good for you.
Okay, so we take the binder, we take the electrolytes, and then we get into the sauna for half an hour.
Half hour, 1:30. We put a towel over the chair to absorb your sweat.
What's 1:30? Half an hour?
130 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, okay. The temperature.
And 30-minute time zone or time frame. That's our goal. The only reason why your goal is interrupted is if you are expressing some detox signaling, which would be that lightheadedness, dizziness, and so forth. And then we stop the session, and that's the case. And if it's 20 minutes in, fine. Drink the second glass of water. That increases your hydration, and it also dilutes the toxic burden in your blood. So then within 5 minutes, that feeling goes away. And then you note either make a mental note about the time and temperature.
Yeah.
And then the next time you do your session, maybe the next day, then when you get up to that 20 minutes or wherever you felt it, we don't know whether you broke through that toxic barrier or not. But the only way you know is when you test it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you really know is when your body tells you the signals. So listen to what your body says.
Okay.
And that
And let's say we got to half an hour, we get out, then what's the best thing to do?
All right, so now we have towels filled with toxic sweat. We don't want to wash those with the rest of your laundry because we don't want that to get on your t-shirts or your underwear. So then you're putting that back on your body, and then you retox yourself. So we wash them separately. Mm-hmm. I usually stay in the sauna for about 8 to 10 minutes afterwards. It's kind of a secret. It's a secret, guys.
Oh.
And the reason why I do that is because our portable sauna has many other frequencies in that sauna besides infrared. For instance, the natural blood tourmaline stone that's peppered on the inside generates 1,700 times more negative ions than happens in nature. So you can sit in the sauna and you can sort of start relaxing. Your metabolism is still moving at 15% greater rate because your veins and arteries are dilated. So you're getting all the benefit of improved circulation. You don't get the heat at that moment, but your body's able to absorb all the other wavelengths and frequencies that we've infused into that journey or into that sauna. Then
so you turn it off basically and you still sit there for that.
Well, it finishes the session.
Oh, okay.
I don't need to turn it off. If I set it for 30 minutes, it turns off by itself. Then I sit there, I might meditate or just relax a little bit. And then after that, I'm probably going to either jump in the pool or jump in the shower.
Okay. Cold
Something
shower?
like that. Yeah, generally that's the case.
What is your intake on like the contrast between cold and hot and the exposure, like between...
Love it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Tell me more about that.
Well, there's tons of science on it.
Yeah.
In the Ukraine and the European areas,
that's where I'm from. And that's the only way that I could do it. Just having a hot exposure, it's just like, it's not enough for me. Like, and I can't tolerate it after a certain degree. But in combination with cold, I can do it forever. And it's so much fun. And it's like giving me life.
Correct.
Yeah.
Again, it depends on your goal. Physiologically, it would be best to just do the sauna session, let's say the 30 minutes, and work yourself up to a point where you could stay in for 30 minutes. So you just have to inch towards the deep end of the pool, little by little, step by step. So when you go from hot to cold, which is a really great therapy, especially to get you more energized, oh my God, it's incredible like that. Every time you go to cold, you shut down your metabolism. Your vessels start to constrict.
That's right, yeah.
So if your goal is to keep them dilated so you have improved circulation, all the benefits there, improved nutrition and better oxygenation, going, it's like stopping and starting and stopping and starting, isn't really the best for that. But now, separately, let's say you just did a hot session and then you jumped in and you did a cold plunge for like 3 to 5 minutes in like sub-degree, temperature. Now you're going to stimulate stem cells and exosomes and lengthen your telomeres, which is lengthening your lifespan.
And you're speaking my love language.
Yeah. So
telomeres and exosomes.
Yeah. So that's what is good for there. So think about all the ways we've just talked about that you can just use sauna to improve your life, and you don't have to do one or the other. In fact, it's actually better to keep tricking your body by doing different things so it doesn't get into routine, because routines in terms of your physiology creates a sort of a diminishing return. You get a lot of benefit in the beginning, a very steep curve, and then it starts to flatten out. So if you can continue to trick the body by changing up your routine, then it doesn't get tired of the routine, and so you can kind of keep that steep I want to say learning and earning or benefit curve.
Are you saying everyone should get out of their comfort zone and try something new?
Yeah, and just keep switching it up. It makes life interesting, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Wait, I interrupted you. You started saying how sauna and exposure to cold is traditionally used in Eastern Europe countries. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, there in the Baltic countries are very famous for that. And that intrigued me actually when I was studying, because I study ancient cultures and I study nature. And so I said, why is it that you guys, the people in Ukraine and areas in Central Europe and so forth, how come they have and Native Americans, they have sweat lodges and they've got this religious ceremonies.
I know a thing or two,
What's that?
They know a thing or two.
Well, yeah, but I mean, first you think it's just customary or religious, but maybe there's a piece about religion and health that is combined, like our ancients, our ancestors had that wisdom.
Yeah.
And so that's why oftentimes when I talk about ancient healing, the wisdom of ancient healing, because really we've kind of forgotten about that in our modern society. We're not storytellers anymore. And so it's important for us to have these interviews to kind of bring back that information. So why and where it came from, frankly, I don't know. But you know what? I looked at it and I said, this is really unique because look at the cultural experience. People get together in community sweat houses and cold and hot plunges. So they're not just getting their bodies healthy, but they're getting a chance to share their life experiences with one another and have that sense of community and family, which somehow we've lost a little bit in translation here. I think that COVID made that a little bit more obvious when we were so separated. So now that we're coming out of the other end, I think it's important that we kind of understand what's important and start to reconnect in those ways.
Yeah. And to summarize everything you just said, to bring it back to that ultimate wellness protocol that I was gathering for someone who lives in an apartment or house, right? So we did the electrolytes, we did the binding agents, we did the sauna for 30 minutes, we took a cold shower afterwards, we got rid of the toxic towel.
Right. We drank that second glass of water.
Yes.
We did our hot or cold shower, preferably cold at the, ultimately. I mean, if you get in a hot shower just to rinse off. And then after that, we kind of see how our body starts to tune up slowly, and it's truly miraculous what the effects are. So that's basically it. And then we kind of have to develop that protocol, because if you're going for heavy metals or these mycotoxins, it actually takes a little bit longer, hotter temperatures and longer time frames. So the 30 minutes at 130 is really just an average maintenance temperature that most people can use to sort of feel good, stay vital, and really just live a healthy lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
When we're going for something deeper, you have infectious disease or microbial imbalances or dysbiosis or even cancer. We didn't even talk about raising your core temperature to create hypothermia. That sauna will also do that. These are amazing therapies that are super great.
Yeah. Well, for those who are watching, people who are interested in biohacking and are not, they're about to get convinced that they should be getting an infrared sauna. What are some of them, health conditions that get almost an instant improvement and they must have and try infrared sauna that you see the almost immediate results for? Like what kind of health conditions are definitely being improved or healed with infrared sauna?
Well, we used properly, we can help with sleep.
Sleep.
Okay. Dietary stuff takes a little bit longer before you actually feel it, but we can measure using technology like heart rate variability to actually see how your heart is and your body physiology is improving on a microscopic level. That eventually, that's on a cell level, and then eventually that expresses itself in general health and vitality. So you can get better sleep, you can get improved focus. So that's neurotropic. Better energy. More energy. Right. Well, we talked about weight loss, so you can get a benefit right away. Pain relief is really big. People that have chronic pain. So we talked about sauna, but our company is also known for its on-body infrared stuff, like the healing pads. And we just launched a new one that's just crazy. It's amazing. It has PEMF and TENS and infrared and red light therapy.
What is it called?
TheraPro.
TheraPro.
Right? And we actually designed it because the last 5 years I've been focusing on optimal health. So it's relatively easy, and I'm saying this humbly, when people have chronic ailments, for me to help them feel better and show them the way. But it's not easy to keep a Tom Brady on the top of his game. Yeah. So that really intrigued me.
It's like losing those last 2 pounds. It's much harder than losing
exactly
20 pounds. Yeah.
And what really intrigued me is that these ball players, they measure their performance every day, on the field and in the training rooms and camps and so forth. And so I thought, just conceptually, if I could move the dial on a Tom Brady, then what am I going to do for the average guy? So that's why I love this biohacking community, because they're so focused on maintaining their health and dialing it up even more.
Yeah.
And they really exhaust, no amounts of money or all their money and all their thought in trying to find and search, which is another reason why I love this venue, because this is a candy store for biohackers, right?
Yeah.
Like you come here and you get a chance to experience things and meet individuals that are doing interesting work.
Yeah, well, on that note, we're gonna end, and if you guys love this, we're inviting you for the next Biohacking Conference in Miami in October 2023. Join us and let us come up and meet us. We'd love to meet you.
Right, same here, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Pleasure being
here. It was
here.
a real pleasure. Bye.